Today I'd like to do a video that focuses on a tiered hierarchy for your prepping kits and supplies. That's based off of a recent reorganization that I've currently been doing with all of my prepping gear, and it's kind of based on the whole layered approach, and I like to call this one prepping circles. The first prepping circle is of course, your EDC. EDC stands for your everyday carry. It's basically the items that you carry with you on a day-to-day basis. Things like a flashlight, multi-tool, pen, folding knife, things like that. Those items are always going to be in your pocket at all times. And a lot of people, especially new preppers, will come up and say, well, I'm thinking about making a bug-out bag. What do you think I should do? I usually tell them, do you have a good EDC system set up first? So I'd recommend starting off with getting a good EDC system. That's going to be all the items that you're always going to have with you, and they're all going to tie into your other systems as we move out from that core prepping circle. But of course, the first prepping circle is of your EDC. At this point, I'm going to show you how my prepping circle has currently been set up as far as what I've been showing here on YouTube, and later on I'm going to show you what I'm planning on moving more towards. So my system's going to be a little bit more refined. So after my EDC, things like my EDC Altoids 10 and the gear that I carry on my person, the next thing that you probably recognize from my channel is of my EDC backpack, and that consists of a lot of items that go outside of what my normal EDC is. This is the backpack that I use for commuting to work, from going around day-to-day basis, keep it in the car when I'm traveling. It has a computer, first aid kit, things like that, stuff that's not as convenient to carry within your pocket. So that's the next layer in prepping circles. So after you set up your EDC system and then maybe make an EDC backpack with some additional gear, the next common item that people like to make is the bug out bag, or your bob. And this is basically a backpack that's filled with 72 hours worth of emergency supplies that you would keep in your home in case of an emergency or anything like that. Something you could quickly grab and go, and then you should be good by yourself for 72 hours with those supplies. So we're talking things like food, water, shelter, medical supplies, tools, things like that. And so this is kind of the next layer that I have in prepping circles. And this, again, this is how I currently have mine set up. All right, at this point you have a fairly good prepping system set up. You have your EDC, the items that you carry on you, you have some gear in a backpack, and then you have an emergency backpack set up in place. And so moving out from there, we're going to be looking at items that might be stored in your vehicle. So these might be items that might be a little bit heavier to carry. You might not want to have them in a bug out bags. For example, say if you have a 5-gallon water jug of water or something stored in your vehicle. But your vehicle, a lot of people, especially in an urban environment or commuters, you're going to be going back and forth to work, and you could have a set of supplies in your vehicle that goes outside of the scope of your bug out bag, of your EDC backpack, and your normal EDC. So let's, for example, if you're in an emergency situation, hopefully you have your EDC on you, and then maybe you have to evacuate for some reason. You might want to grab your bug out bag, put it in the vehicle, and then go on the go. And so that's the next layer in prepping circles. Okay, at this point in prepping circles, you have your EDC, all the items that you carry on you. Maybe you have your backpack with you. Maybe it's an emergency situation, you need to evacuate with your bug out bag, and perhaps you're going in your vehicle to travel to whatever destination you need to get to. So the next logical layer is your home. So again, you're going to park your vehicle in your home, maybe in your garage, and your home is where you're going to have the majority of your prepping supplies. I like to call it my home prepping system. I made a video of that a couple years ago where I described basically how I have all of my home supplies organized. We're talking things that are in your pantry, a lot of food supplies. Maybe you have a month's worth of food, 3 months of food, up to a year of food, water, things like that. You're going to be able to have a lot of supplies in your home, apartment, your homestead, anything like that. So that's going to be what encompasses everything that we've seen so far in our prepping circle. All right, so far we've talked about everything that's within your home. For example, you're going to store your bug out bag in your home. You're probably going to have your EDC backpack stored in your home while you're sleeping. Your vehicle's going to be parked inside. But we haven't really talked about anything on the outside of your home. For example, I believe that a bug out bag should be stored in your home. You're kind of bugging out from your home-based location to an outside location. So the next concept to talk about is the circle for your get home bag. And get home bags, in comparison to a bug out bag, which I have kind of at the same weight level, so as you can see they're equal size. A bug out bag is meant to get you from your home to an alternative destination, and vice versa. The get home bag is already at an alternative location and you want to get back home. And so I have them as equal weight, although a lot of the times your bug out bag or your bob is going to have a little bit more complete of a system, because you might not know exactly where you need to go. With your get home bag, you know where your home home is and probably how far away it is. So with a lot of times with get home bags, they're stored perhaps in one's office, for example. Maybe you even have one in your vehicle. So before you get home, you're going to have see, let's put the fob over there. Maybe you'll have your EDC backpack and your EDC and a get home bag that might be able to complement. So, and then hopefully the goal is to get back home with that get home bag. So that's where I have this prepping circle. Again, this is one that could be stored in multiple locations, and you could have multiple get home bags. And I have it the same weight as the bug out bag. All right, let's go back to your EDC. Now let's go through a given example. Say we're in an emergency situation, you're at your home, and you need to evacuate. So some of these things right now, these are kind of more for life, business as usual, but in an emergency situation, you might want to look at things a little bit differently. So say you have your EDC with you, and you're in an emergency situation, you want to grab your bug out bag. And then for a lot of preppers, instead of having just their normal family vehicle, they might have a dedicated vehicle that a lot of us call our bug out vehicle that'll be specific for an emergency situation for getting out of town. Maybe it'll be a Jeep 4-wheel drive with any kind of rope and additional type of supplies specific for an emergency situation. And then you're going to be taking that bug out bag with your EDC, with your bob and the bug out vehicle, and you're going to be going to a bug out location. That might be a cabin, someplace in the woods, maybe a family member's house, just an alternative location. And so your bug out vehicle will hopefully get you to that point. Your bug out vehicle may not even be a vehicle. Maybe it's a bicycle, maybe it's a motorcycle, maybe it's even a skateboard or a scooter or anything like that. That could all be considered kind of your bug out vehicle. But the end goal is to get to your bug out location, to wherever that might be, whether that be at your mom's house or in a cabin that you have property at. And this is more of the scenario that's most common for in an emergency situation. So these are the prepping circles as is currently on my YouTube channel. If you've seen videos on all of these before, I've shown multiple videos on my EDC, my Altoids EDC 10, of my EDC backpack, multiple versions of that, my bug out bag, some vehicle supplies, my home prepping system, my pantry preps, things like that, and even a get home bag. But as you can see, there's kind of a flaw in this system, and it really revolves around these two tiers here, the EDC backpack and the bug out bag. If you've seen both videos of my bug out bag and EDC backpack, you probably would think, well, you can't really carry both of those. This one's a little bit too heavy, so one of them's going to have to be left behind. So in an emergency situation, most likely I'm just going to have to leave that EDC backpack behind and go with the bob, since that's more tailored for an emergency situation. And of course, my EDC would still go along with it. But that's not the most efficient way of going about prepping. You're kind of stockpiling on supplies that might get omitted in a true emergency situation. And so another concept that was kind of missing, but it's very common in the prepping world, but it's kind of been missing in my world, is the concept of a go bag. And so I had to call a lifeline. So I called Mr. Monkeyman 50. I actually didn't call him, emailed him, and we had a big conversation on, okay, where's the go bag fit in this whole kind of hierarchy of prepping supplies, and what's the difference with my EDC backpack? So as you can see here, I have the EDC backpack and the go bag as the same weight, because really when it comes right down to it, my EDC backpack is more of a go bag than it is an EDC bag. For example, EDC, as it's defined, basically stands for your everyday carry, what you're going to be carrying with you at all times, whether you're at the dinner table, whether you're at the movie theater, and whether you're in the bathroom. Those are the supplies you're going to have on you. If they're not with you, they're probably not your EDC, there's something else. And that's kind of been the mistake that I've had so far here on my channel, is that my EDC backpack isn't a true EDC backpack. It's more of like a go bag or a commuter bag that I often carry with me, but it's not going to be with me when I'm going to the bathroom. So what I'm going to be doing moving forward is not using that term EDC as commonly as I have been. I think that's kind of a common thing here on YouTube, is we use the term EDC for all sorts of things, when really EDC should only mean the items that you have on your person at all times, no matter what. So if I were to barge on you while you're in the bathroom, what items are you going to have on you? That's your EDC. Anything else is probably not your EDC. It's going to be something else, and most likely it's going to be a go bag. So things like my EDC lunchbox, my EDC backpack, things like that, those are more like go bags. So go bag lunchbox, go bag commuter supplies, things like that. And so when we look at it this way, it kind of makes a little bit more sense. And as you can see, I talked about it having the equal weight as the EDC backpack. But if we look at it this way, basically your go bag should be kind of like my EDC backpack, but I think in a little bit a scaled down version, a very lightweight, a quick grab and go. You're home away from home with your basic supplies that you could have with you that aren't as convenient to just have in your pockets with you. And what I'd like to do moving moving forward is treat my go bag not as a bag of itself, but that could also be used as a module to the upper layer of the prepping circle. So my go bag should be able to be used as a module for my bug out bag. And that way, if there was an emergency situation, I could still have all those items in my go bag, and it could be a module of the bug out bag. And so then, in an emergency situation, this would still work. When you're using your Edc backpack in that way, it doesn't work as nicely. Also, the go bag should be a module for your get home bag as well. So if you're, for example, if you're at work, you have your Edc, you have your go bag, it should be able to be a module to your get home bag in that way. And then if you were to maybe go from work to home, you're still going to be able to have all your supplies with you and not discard anything. And I think that's the ultimate goal with prepping circles. So moving forward on my channel, you're going to be seeing a lot more of the concept of a go bag used in multiple systems that I have. I'm not going to go back and rename all of the previous videos just because it wouldn't make as much sense to new viewers. But moving forward, you're going to see that this tier, as far as prepping circles go, is going to be integrated into my system to make it so it's a more cohesive unit. So basically, I think that a go bag could be one that's used for business as usual, and then also one for an emergency situation. You could have multiple go bags just like you have multiple other backpacks. So say, for example, I need to go to work, I'm going to have my Edc system, and maybe I'll grab my go bag, and that'll be a reduced size backpack that has the basic supplies that I want to have outside of my normal Edc, and maybe I'm going to take my car and drive to work, since I'm not going to need the bug out bag in that situation, and that'll be my go bag. So then you could also probably have more of a survival based go bag that has maybe like the 10 C's of survival or something like that. So then again, Edc goes into the survival-based go bag, and maybe I'm going to need to grab my bug-out bag in that situation. The go bag would be a module to the bug-out bag, kind of like your SAS survival pouch, your 10 C's of survival. It's a module to the bug-out bag, so they all intertwine with each other, and then maybe go into the bug-out vehicle to try to get to that bug-out location. So in this way, it makes total sense as far as prepping circle goes. Now that we've gone over the basic concept of prepping circles, let's start to refine things even more. So again, everything starts off with your Edc, everyday carry, the stuff that you have on you, on your person at all times, even when you're in the bathroom. So the stuff that you might have had in your Edc backpack, for example, is probably not going to be considered your Edc because you're not going to have it with you when you're in the bathroom. If you do, then it is your Edc. But if I were to bust the doors in on the bathroom and you're sitting there Tywin Lannister style, what gear do you have on you? That's going to be your Edc. So anything that falls outside of that is probably going to be part of your go bag. Again, your go bag, I have it as equal weight as what I previously had listed for my Edc backpack, although my go bag is going to be a little bit smaller than what you saw previously with my Edc backpack. And so this is kind of what you have with you on a day-to-day basis. You have the stuff on your person and then your go bag. And so here's where we're going to refine things a little bit more. So the next kind of bag that you have in your system is your bug out bag. And again, the go bag should be a module to the bug out bag so they could be used together. So maybe look at it kind of like the SAS survival pouch or the 10 C's of survival that'll still fit inside your bug out bag. But as you see here, I've added some rings to the bug out bag. And this kind of stems from a conversation that I had with the Mountain RN during my recent Bob Walk. We talked about organizing kits based off of time frames. So whatever the time frame is that you want to have for that kit. So for example, when we're looking at this bug out bag, I have multiple rings there. Maybe you have a 24-hour bug out bag. Maybe you have a 48-hour bug out bag. Most common is a 72-hour. Maybe even have a 1-week bug out bag. Whatever it is, you should look at it that way because when I was talking with the Mountain RN, it makes more sense for dividing things up. It's an easier concept. For example, if you have a 48-hour bug out bag that will supply you with enough supplies, if you have 2 people in your party now, for example, now you have only a 24-hour bug out bag for each of you. So it's a lot easier to kind of divvy things up when you start talking about more people and things like that. So what I'm going to be doing moving forward is really stressing the concept of the time frame for what each bag or system is going to represent. So again, this is stuff on your person, the go bag, and then that'll feed into the bug out bag. And continuing on, they kind of look like rings of a tree when you cut a tree, for example. You have your vehicle, and with your vehicle, it's going to continue on with that kind of ring approach. So maybe after your 72 hours, maybe you have an additional 24 hours of supplies in your vehicle, maybe additional 48 hours, maybe even up to a week of water, for example, in your vehicle. And so that's a way of having everything kind of tie in with each other with regard to prepping circles. And so then lastly, we have what we have in our home. And our home is going to have all of our supplies in there, the stuff that, our massive amount, especially for those that are into homesteading. Maybe I like when people ask me, well, what should I start off with? What should be my basic set of supplies within my home? I like thinking of it in terms of your pay cycle. So if you get paid once a week, try to have your minimum of once a week, just a week's worth of food. So just in case you were to lose your job, maybe you have an unexpected expense, you'll be able to cover that with the food that you have. If you get paid once a month, for example, have 30 days of food as your minimum. You never know when you're going to lose your job. You never know when some kind of emergency financial situation is going to happen. And then you're going to move out from there. So then, okay, we're looking at EDC, that's a day. Maybe we have an extra 24 hours in the bug out bag, maybe 48 hours, maybe 72 hours. In the vehicle, maybe we'll get a couple extra days from that. And then we're going to home, maybe we'll have 30 days or a pay cycle. And then maybe 2 pay cycles, maybe 3 pay cycles, which is up to 90 days. So you can use the same concept with your bug out bag, with your get home bag. Again, I have them as equal weights. The only difference really is that the get home bag is going to be in multiple locations. It might be in your vehicle, it might be in your office, for example, and it's meant to get you back to your home circle. And the bug out bag is kind of vice versa. It's meant to get you to an alternative location. So again, same kind of rings go with the get home bag. And so this is what we're going to see with my channel moving forward as far as how I'm looking about the organization of all my supplies in my various prepping systems. And it's all going to be based off of this concept of prepping circles based off of time. So again, EDC go bag, which is a module, to the bug out bag, or it could also be a module to your get home bag. Then you're going to go vehicle and then home, and it's all based off of various time frames that we have for my prepping supplies. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. This has helped me kind of conceptualize how I'm going to go moving forward with my prepping videos and everything, to have it make a little bit more sense and have a more cohesive prepping system that all feeds in with each other. So please feel free to leave any kind of comments below in the comment section, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video featuring prepping circles. See you guys.